graphic in nature. Viewer discretion is advised.
Witchcraft.
Yeah, I mean, this is definitely it's really just
I love stories like this because it's
people just so scared to death.
Yeah, that's a real thing.
There are countless stories bad enough
that you shouldn't fuck with.
Right, and the JFK assassination limo.
Real.
Good evening, Larry. You're in the right place at the right time. A little bit of a delay tonight, though. No worry. From the Mistake on the Lake, deep within the Great American Rust Belt, I bid you all good morning, good evening, whenever time zone you're in, whatever time it is. Clearly, you're watching the replay. This is Type 3 TV. I'm your host, John Bozitsky, alongside Daniel, Steve, and Rady.
What is happening?
Not much. And Steve Buddha Gibson.
Sup?
Yeah. Gentlemen, we had a week off last week. I had an interesting Thursday night, but I'm going to get into your guys' weeks first. Dan, how's it been for you the last couple weeks?
Just working a lot. Really, I finished the song up and, started working on a new one, which I said I wasn't going to do, but I did. And pretty much not much. I, try to get my bike ready for some bike rides. I oiled the chain up and get the tires aired up so I can start getting out and getting some exercise because I've been stuck inside the whole winter. So, just pretty much just little shit like that. Nothing too crazy.
Yeah, Buddha, how about you? How was your week the last few weeks?
Just busy. Seems like shit's just crazy lately.
Still pulling 7 days a week right now?
6. Working 6 and then doing other work-related things on the 7th.
Dude, you're going to end up like Jack Torrance here if you don't cut that shit out.
I'm going to...
It's going to end up, Wendy, darling, light of my life. Yeah, it's, it was interesting. So last Thursday, I went to Montana to hang out with my wife and her side of the family. And so I flew out to meet them on Thursday. And I'll just get into it kind of briefly, but the weather last Thursday, if you're flying from Cleveland to Montana, you have to go through, there's no way there's a direct, you have to connect through a couple of airports. So Delta goes through Minneapolis, United goes through Denver, and American goes through Dallas. And so no matter what, you always have to have a connecting flight, at least coming from Cleveland. So my flight was, I got a text message. I was originally supposed to leave at 7, and I got a text message around 4 o'clock saying that my flight was delayed by 48 minutes. Well, my layover was an hour and 20 minutes. So that really cut it close from deplaning to getting on my connecting flight. And so I was a little nervous, but I still went to the airport and asked them their opinion. Should I, can I cancel? Can I get a refund? And their stance was no refund, but if you go for it, obviously we'll do whatever we can to get you to your destination as fast as possible. So I was hanging out at the airport and I went and got something to eat. And then I got a text message that said the flight was then delayed till 9 o'clock. And I'm like, well, I'm for sure going to miss my connecting flight now. So I went to the gate and they had told me that the plane that I was supposed to take to Montana was coming from New York and it hadn't even taken off yet. So everything was delayed by about 2 hours. So they're like, even if you took this plane 2 hours late, you're still going to make it because that plane is going to be late. So, okay, well, in the midst, so we get on the plane and we're flying and I'm like, all right, I'm going to make it. I'll be there a little later than I anticipated, but no worries. Well, about halfway there, the pilot gets on the intercom and it's like, we're going to have to turn around and make a landing here in Detroit. We'll be landing in about 15 minutes. Small mechanical issue. Huh? What? All right. Well, we land in Detroit and I'm like, well, it doesn't look like I'm making my connecting flight now. So then the pilot gets on and says, well, we're going to have to, we're going to take a look here and see what's going on. And we'll get back to you here shortly on what we're going to do. He gets back on the horn about 15, 20 minutes later and says, yeah, we're going to have to deplane and switch planes. This plane's going to go into maintenance for a few days. Had we gone any further, we would have had to shut one of the engines down. So,
nice.
Small mechanical issue there. So,
yeah. Jeez.
But luckily everything went okay. I didn't get in to my Minneapolis until about 1:00 in the morning. It was about 12. I can't remember because there's a time difference and everything. So they gave me a hotel and routed me through the next day as early as they possibly could. But I got about 2 hours of sleep. So I didn't make it to Montana until about 1:00 in the afternoon on Monday. And then I hung out there for a couple of days and got home Sunday evening, and it was cool. So, but yeah, I've never been on a plane where there was an emergency landing, and I'll tell you what, I don't want to do it again. So,
yeah, man, that's my love affair of planes. So
you've never flown though, have you?
Well, when I was a kid, I did.
I forgot. Yeah, you've told me this several times.
Yeah, not as an adult, no.
Yeah, so. But yeah, so it was interesting, to say the least. And I contacted a couple people that, they travel for work nonstop. So I'm like, well, all years of traveling, have you ever had that happen to you? And they're like, not once. I'm like, that's crazy and scary. So maybe that was my one dance with, the Grim Reaper there. So, cool. Dan, we were talking in the chat beforehand while we were waiting to get everything up and going, but you had mentioned that you'd been watching some, you're talking about some channels that you were watching on YouTube.
Well, yeah, basically because the job I do, I have, I'm not talking to people. So I always have my YouTube channel up, not my channel, but just have it up watching different shit. And I've always been interested in watching, people like urban explorers go into abandoned factories and old farmhouses and that. I just like looking at them walk through these places, and I find it interesting. But somehow I got recommended from watching these channels. I got recommended a paranormal channel where these two guys go and, it's not a television show. It's an actual YouTube channel. These two guys are probably in their, I'd say 30s, maybe early 40s. And they go to supposed haunted places and they bring all this equipment. I can't remember half of the shit. I think could be called a K2 meter and a couple other things. And they go investigate. And as I was saying to you, John, I've always been a skeptic on ghosts and supernatural, but I believe in it less now than I did even before because these guys are just comical. It is the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. And just for the hell of it, I watched other paranormal channels just to see and everyone goes through the same thing. John, you were making fun. The guys are like, did you hear that? Oh, I just felt something. It's cold over here. And then the other script is, well, I just put a fresh set of batteries in this device, and every single person acts like it's a big deal. And my thought process was, if these guys
dildo.
What's that?
It's just a giant dildo.
Yeah, right. If these guys were serious believers, and they wouldn't be scared every single time something happens. They're like, oh my God, holy shit, I don't believe. It's like, if you're a believer and you'd be like, okay, well, I just felt something grab my arm. You know what I'm saying? They wouldn't act like crazy. And I just, again, I'd have to see it to believe it. And I'm sure these guys are doing it for, views, obviously, because they're making money. The one channel I think has 160,000 subscribers, and they've got their videos have 60, 70, 80,000 views. So they're making some money on this.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I joked to John and I said, we're in the wrong business. All we need to do is buy a couple of these fucking devices, go in places, let's create a script that happened inside the house and say, 10 people died in this house, and start acting like idiots and acting like, oh my God, holy shit, I can't, and just do that the entire time, and we'd be making some money on it.
Yeah. There's a channel that does they do countdown videos. Countdown, paranormal videos were really popular couple of years ago, but every time they post top 15 videos you shouldn't watch alone, it's just every single time you're not that scary. I don't know.
Yeah.
And maybe I'm desensitized, or I'm just getting more skeptical as I get older. But who knows?
That's probably what. Until I see something actually happen, then I'll believe it. But
yeah,
that's me.
Cool. All right. Well, we'll do a couple news articles. Buddha,
the other problem
something?
is that stuff is just like it's so fucking oversaturated and everywhere, and everything is just so fucking fake. Like
right.
To the point where like you were saying, Dan, like everybody is surprised at literally everything, and every single ghost show goes, whoa, and then they cut to commercial, and then it comes back, and you're like, oh, it was actually nothing, like every other fucking show.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Well. All right. Let's do a couple of news articles, and we'll get into some stories. We'll play Dan's song. Buddha, I don't know. Are you going to send yours?
I already did.
Oh, very well. I'll get that queued up here while you guys are doing one of your stories. All right. So this one here is from space.com. Another solar temper tantrum sends a strong X flare towards Earth. This was published yesterday. Aurora watchers, it's your lucky month. For the second time in days, the sun hurled a large X-class flare at Earth overnight Tuesday and Wednesday, April 20th. The sun's getting lit on 420, bruh. Reportedly causing radio blackouts in Australia, the Western Pacific, and Eastern Asia. Spaceweather.com reported 19 flares overall, including 5 medium-class explosions. There's likely more action in store, too. Imagery from NASA's Solar Dynamics Observatory shows the large sunspot AR2993-94. Hopefully you got that. Ready to rotate into firing range of Earth. The full... I don't know. I can't pronounce that. Well, anyway, more's coming. So it's interesting that these keep happening, and they say another I don't know how many years before the sun expands and swallows the Earth. Like maybe it's closer than we think. Who knows?
It's possible. I think it'll happen very quickly if it does happen before we have a chance to think about it.
Yeah. They said if the sun turned off, it would take 8 minutes for us to realize. It takes about 8 minutes for a light ray from the sun to get to Earth.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yep.
So does that mean it would take, like, how long would it take for an actual solar flare to hit the Earth?
About 8 minutes.
So it'd be the same?
Yeah, so we'd see it, and then basically, we'd have 8 minutes to prepare, so.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. It's just like, poof.
And if you're sleeping, you don't have nothing to worry about.
Right. Yeah. You just wake up and nothing works.
Right.
Then again, maybe that's not a bad thing. I don't know. Less media. Let's see here. Oh, okay, Buddha. This one here, I thought this was kind of funny. And I don't know why they did this, but did you guys see CNN streaming service is shutting down literally a month after its launch?
Because it's trash.
I did not.
Well, right, but they didn't even give a chance for it to grow.
It's fucking CNN. The channel can't even grow.
Well, I get it. It's just like I was surprised to even see that they wouldn't even give it like more than a month to grow. But I'm not complaining. I'm shocked that they would just throw in the towel that quickly. Operating costs must have exceeded revenue so much that they're like, we're hemorrhaging. We have to pull it right now. You know what I mean?
I wonder if it was that, or was it just all the fucking sponsors just bailed?
Could be that too. I know a lot of people are getting tired of their shit. So, but yeah. So CNN Plus.
Hey, John.
Yes.
I don't know if it's me, but you guys both got real quiet.
No, I can hear Buddha just fine.
Yeah, everything
Maybe that's
sounds fine.
Yeah.
Maybe that's my headphones. Go ahead. Continue.
Yeah. This one's out of statenews.com or statnews.com. North Carolina becomes the second U.S. state to... Dan, you popped in and out there.
I'm here.
Yeah. It says North Carolina becomes second U.S. state to report unusual cases of hepatitis in kids. Health authorities in North Carolina say they're investigating 2 cases of hepatitis in young children, making the state the second to report the cases that appear to be linked to an outbreak that is being seen in a growing number of countries. Bailey Pennington, a spokesperson for the State Department of Health and Human Services, told Stat of the cases in an email on Thursday, saying that the state is both conducting surveillance for other possible cases and working with Poison Control Center an epidemiologist to determine the cause of the illness. Both North Carolina cases were in school-age children. Neither required a transplant, and both have since recovered. But yeah, it doesn't say like what class of hepatitis it is. I know C is C's the kind that sticks with you. Does it always stick with you? I don't know.
No, I thought A was the one that is the one that sticks.
Yeah,
I'm not sure.
Because one of them has a cure. I think it's Hep C.
No, C is not curable, I don't think. I don't know. It says the overall number of cases is small, but the outbreak is unusual. The affected children are mainly under the age of 10, with many younger than 5. All were previously healthy. While most of the children have made full recoveries, some have required liver transplants, including 2 in Alabama. Holy shit. 8 in the United Kingdom and 1 in Spain. To date, there have been no reports of deaths. Wowee. Liver transplant. All right.
Woof.
Well, yeah. Keep an eye out for that. Buddha, this one's for you. I know you're into health and fitness. This one says intermittent fasting isn't the answer. Intermittent fasting was once hailed as a powerful strategy in weight loss, but the latest science shows that it's not exactly the miracle solution after all. This is from lifehacker.com. First, intermittent fasting is the process of scheduling all of your eating for the day within a narrow window, typically 8 to 4 p.m. Other types of intermittent fasting include the 5-2 method, in which a person eats normally for 5 days a week and fasts on the other 2. The idea is by restricting eating to designated times, it will decrease one's caloric intake, which will ultimately lead to weight loss. What are your thoughts on that?
I'm not educated enough. I mean, there's so much like from both sides where you see all the studies and all those quote unquote experts coming out from both sides. Like, I don't know. I've never actually tried it.
How many times do you eat a day?
Define like a full meal.
Well, I mean, I think they're
like
also
I eat virtually the entire day.
Right.
Like every couple hours.
So would you say every 2 to 3 hours you're munching on something?
That's probably fair. I mean, I wake up and I eat breakfast, and then I'd usually, so that's about, if I'm actually, depending on like if I go to the gym in the morning, I'll have like a banana before I go to the gym, and then say I'm home by 6, and then I'll eat breakfast at 6:30, and then I'll leave and I'll probably have another snack, say like 9, 10 o'clock. Then I'll eat lunch around noon. Then I'm having another snack probably like 2:30.
Wow.
Then I'm eating dinner at 4:30, 5 o'clock. So yeah, I would say like every couple hours is pretty fair.
When do you have your rice cake?
That is either a ride home thing or a throughout the last like hour or so of work.
Yeah. Buddha's snacks of choice, if anyone wants to send him snacks, corn chips and rice cakes.
Not so much on the corn chips.
I thought you used to munch on bags of corn chips all the time. Did you overdo it?
I used to eat pretzels all the time.
That too, pretzels.
I'm
I'm sure you miss those.
Definitely not a big corn chip guy.
You miss the pretzels?
Yeah. Well, not that was more of like when I was drinking all the time. So
yeah,
pretzels were great for that, but I don't drink, so don't really miss them. Now they're just too fucking salty.
Yeah.
A new year-long study from New England Journal of Medicine found that when patients were divided into 2 groups, one with a calorie restriction and a time restriction, and the other with just a calorie restriction, the results showed no benefit from eating within a narrow window. Those that adhered to intermittent fasting did not see any significant progress in waist circumference, BMI, body fat, blood pressure, or metabolic risk factors compared to the control group. Worth mentioning, both the control group and the variant group in the study did lose weight, and that's because the key to success for weight loss is and continues to be caloric intake. It doesn't matter when you're eating so much as to what you're eating. So breathe a sigh of relief, midnight snackers. Go ahead and have that midnight nosh. Just consider making it carrots and hummus instead of chips and cookies. Fuck that.
Yeah.
Who's eating like cookies at like fucking, I woke up, fucking gotta have a quick snack.
Again, you've been away from the game for a while, my friend.
Well, do you wake up at
Right,
like
you don't
fucking
eat like a
1 in the
normal person.
morning
No,
and
I
you're
mean,
like craving a cookie.
no, I don't eat past 9 o'clock. Although I look like it, but I don't. All right. Speaking of eating, Dan, this one's for you. Taco Bell
Okay.
is bringing back the Mexican pizza. And it says Taco Bell has announced the return of the Mexican pizza, a favorite for South Asian communities across the country. I don't know why this is from, like, they put in, this is from NPR. It's talking about South Asian people liking the Mexican pizza, but you like the Mexican pizza, and I know you're happy. They're bringing
No,
it back.
actually, no, I never actually did. I mean, I didn't dislike it. I just never. I'm very. When it comes to Taco Bell, I eat literally nothing but bean burritos from Taco Bell. That is almost the entire thing. Occasionally, I'll eat a soft taco, but mostly it's bean burritos. But Taco Bell, I've heard that story, and somebody made a comment that Taco Bell is notorious for bringing things back that people love, then taking it away, then bringing it back, then taking it away. And a lot of people say, why don't you just leave the damn thing on the menu? It's
to
got
drive
enough
traffic
sales,
to
enough people like it.
I think it's to drive traffic to the store, to be honest with you. It's a marketing tactic.
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, McDonald's does it all the time. They all do it, actually.
Think about Disney. I was watching something where Disney used to do it with their vault. They'd release a video and then put it away for 4 or 5 years and then re-release it, and they would always have the price jacked up. So like, you're ended up buying like all the same version, or like you would get this movie, but then you'd have to get the next release from the vault because it came in a gold case. But
right.
And then once the formats kept increasing, they went from VHS to DVD to Blu-ray. Now it's streaming. They're not able to do it, but yeah, that's kind of, they would just drive the market by opening it up and then closing it, and then opening it and then closing it.
You're right. A great example is with fast food anyway is McDonald's and their McRib. That McRib comes out and people go absolutely. I've eaten the thing before. I absolutely. I don't even eat McDonald's, so I remember having it when I was younger. I thought the thing tasted nasty, but they bring it out, people go crazy for it, then boom, it disappears, and then it comes out. They actually run out of the stuff for it because so many people buy it.
Yeah, that rib patty ain't grown that way, so.
Yeah.
Does Disney Plus do the same thing like with the vault, where they'll only allow like certain streamed video, like certain movies that are streamed at certain times, and they, like, cycle them in and out?
Yeah, I mean that's their way of keeping people hooked on because they couldn't do everything possible. But I believe they have, because of Fox and they're owning Fox. I believe every episode of The Simpsons is on there. They didn't put Married with Children on there, which I'm kind of bummed about, but. I don't have Disney Plus.
Completely own Fox?
Oh yeah, they own it 100%.
Really? I thought they only owned Marvel.
No,
they own Lucas too.
Yeah, Lucasfilm was bought by Disney. Marvel was bought by Disney. They also own Fox. They don't own Fox News, just Fox, like Fox Entertainment. So, The Simpsons. Oh man, I mean. Any movie,
anything they made.
Yeah, like 20th Century Fox related. They own Independence Day. I think Die Hard was a Fox movie. I'm not sure, but yeah, anything 20th Century Fox they've purchased and own now. It was crazy. Like I was watching a report. At one point they had 35% of box office releases. So almost half the movies that you were seeing were financed or owned by Disney in some way, shape, or form.
Interesting.
Yeah. A lot of people are getting sick of their shit, though. So
that's because Disney's a piece of shit company, and they have been for a long time.
Yeah, it's getting really everything's just nickel and dimed.
Show me like a major production studio that isn't though.
Yeah, I mean
that's why everybody's That's why everybody's going to like. I was actually just talking about this the other day. I don't remember who it was with, but like, with companies like. Love them or hate them, Netflix, HBO, Hulu, like with their budgets now.
You there? I lost you.
To do, you got nothing?
Nope, he's coming.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, you faded out for probably.
You're back.
10 seconds.
Oh, that was weird. I was just gonna say, like, with companies like Netflix or HBO and whatnot, like their content and their budget is able to be equal to or rival like big companies like Universal and Disney, because their fucking or the content is shit.
Yeah. No, it's also, people are just able to have technology in their hands now, and they can, like, user generated content's really popular too. I mean, unfortunately, you know, the way you get it out there is YouTube, and it's kind of controlled by Google, but I mean, there are a lot of user generated content is actually, like, somebody can go and make a movie now for, you know, less than $50,000 and make it good.
Right.
You know?
Well, even like video games, well, I don't know about the budget for video games, but like you're seeing a lot of like independent companies or, you know, this game was made by 4 dudes, like getting a lot of traction. And like, obviously it's never going to have like the same traction as something like, yeah, I don't even know who's big anymore. Like, is Bungie still big, or like Bethesda's pretty much dead? Like,
Yeah.
you know, but you know what I'm saying? Like those old school powerhouse companies, like
Acclaim,
yeah,
Activision.
yeah, EA.
Yeah, I'll say Activision. I was just going to mention that one.
Yeah.
Well, when Activision merged with, did they merge or buy Blizzard? I think they merged with Blizzard. Blizzard just became a piece of shit company.
Yeah, Activision is.
I never played any Blizzard games.
That was all the stuff I grew up on. Diablo, Warcraft, all that.
How do you kill that which has no life?
Exactly.
But yeah. All right, one more story, and then we'll cut it over to you, Dan, and then we'll go to Buddha real quick. So, Dan, this one is from GMauthority.com. You ever been there?
Oh, yeah. I know that site.
Yeah. So it says just 25% of car buyers are willing to pay for subscription services. It says automakers in recent years have explored using the connected services to enable subscription-based features like heated or cooled seats and active safety features. However, a recent study conducted by I believe it says Cox Automotive, Buddha, you own that company, indicates that only a quarter of the buyers would be willing to pay for such subscription-based services for their automotive. So if I understand correctly, Dan, what they're saying is that all of the options would be installed on the car, and you would just subscribe to a package, and they would unlock it via satellite.
Absolutely correct. I actually brought this up a while back on this podcast. I can't remember what the story was about, but I've heard about this. This has been explored for the last 3-4 years now. I think BMW was one of the first ones to start bringing this in. So yeah, you literally, if you wanted heated seats in your car has all the features for it. They simply just unlock the option, and you pay a monthly premium of whatever, $10 a month. I'm just throwing that out there. I don't know what it would cost, but you pay that monthly premium, and your car has heated seats or adaptive cruise control. And I think it's great to hear that consumers have a half a brain and they're telling the auto industry to fuck off on that by telling them, you either buy the option, you want the option in your car, or you don't buy the option. To make somebody pay a monthly subscription to have an option that's already installed on the car is ludicrous. And it shows what a disastrous shape the auto industry is in now, what pathetic shape it's in.
Let me ask you this.
That they were even considering that. Yeah. Go ahead.
So the one thing I did find was interesting was not a subscription based for features, but just a subscription based plan for cars where you pay, like, let's say you have GM and you pay $400 a month to GM, and basically GM it's kind of like an auto rental lot where you can just go and put whatever car you want, and you just take the car, and when you're done with that and you're like, oh, you know what, I got to move something this weekend, I'm going to use a truck. And so basically you're swapping out for different cars at your leisure for a monthly subscription fee.
Right. I've heard of that too. Cadillac actually started something like that about 5 years ago, and I can't remember what they called it, but it was just what you said. You pay like $1,000 a month or $1,200 a month. So, it's basically like a very expensive car note, what you'd probably pay for a Cadillac. And, like you said, each month or during a couple times during the week, or during every 2 weeks or whatever, you could, have a Cadillac CT5. Then all of a sudden you're like you said, well, I'm going on a road trip. I'm going to have my family with me. I want to get an Escalade, and then you do it that way. The problem, I don't know how it's working with some of the other car companies, but I know it was not very popular with Cadillac. Cadillac did not it did not do well with them. So, but again, that's a neat feature, but is the price offset? What are you paying for that? And yeah, sure, you're going to have basically a brand new car in your driveway, every single day for the most part.
Yeah.
But does it make financial sense? Obviously, probably not. And you're never ever going to keep the car. You're always returning it. And, you got to maintain it, and you got to not maintain it so much, but you got to make sure it doesn't get hit and doesn't get scratched and all that other stuff. So,
yeah.
But I know a couple other car companies are doing that. Yep.
Yeah, it seems like the 3-year lease is probably, I don't see it going anything real. I mean, as far as popularity goes, that seems like as far as it's going to go.
What would the insurance policy look
as
like for something like that?
Well, I think you would pay like a flat rate. So they would basically average out the cost of all the cars. It's probably it would probably be tiered. So it's like, well, you can do economy, basic, these 5 cars. Here's the average cost of the car. Here's what it would cost to, be insured. And so the insurance companies would have to adapt the model too. But, and then maintenance costs and all that stuff would be absorbed into it. You end up probably paying $500 to $600 a month. But I mean, how far off is it from, car payment plus insurance? If you never have to worry about a car, then is it worth it? You know what I mean? I don't know.
Right. Yeah, I know Cadillac's was like over $1,000 a month. I want to say it was like $1,200 a month when the Cadillac did their thing. So, that would be like literally an Escalade payment. You know what I'm saying? So,
well,
maybe a little bit less, but
that, and you probably, they'd have to say like, okay, well, you took the car out, it's got 20,000 miles on it, and you put 3,000. So you're still paying for however many miles you drive. It's just they keep track of the mileage based upon what it was when you took the car and when you brought it back. So I think I think mathematically there's obviously a way to do it. It's just, is it economical enough to the point where people would want to pay it? It just doesn't seem like right now it is.
Yeah, I had a friend that worked at Enterprise. This was years ago, but he told me, he said, yeah, actually he was someone I worked with later on too. He went into the insurance sales, but he said there were people that he had regular customers that would they didn't even own a car. They would rent a different car every single week. So, and he said the amount of money that those people were throwing down the toilet is just unbelievable because they wanted a new car all the time. And for whatever crazy reason, they, instead of going out and just buying a brand new car that's your own, they would rent a different car every single week. And, just so they could have a nice new car to drive around in all the time. It's unbelievable.
Yeah. But then again, though, if you think about it, like, let's say your car payment's $400 a month, right? That's $100 a week.
Right.
If you could get a rental car for less than $100 a week, are you that much worse off?
Well, you're not going to get a sweet one, though.
That's exactly right, Buddha. Yeah, you're going to get a very cheap piece of shit economy car. Like this person he was talking about was not renting like dinky little crap cars. They were renting like Dodge Chargers and Challengers and, Impalas. They were renting nicer cars that would cost you like $250, $300 a week. Car close to it. Yeah.
All right, cool. All right, well, Dan, that's all the news for this week. All right, final verdict. So you're not a fan of the subscription for features, I'm guessing.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Terrible idea.
All right. The gospel according to Rady.
Yeah.
All right, Dan, what do you got for this week?
So this story here is going to be a very quick one. There's not a lot to it, and it doesn't have, I'll give you a fair warning, it doesn't have any kind of dramatic endings. This is more of this is just more of a debate type thing, just to kind of throw it out there and just get everyone's opinion. Everyone's going to have an opinion on it. But I thought it was kind of an interesting story because it shows how far a city can go, small townships, local government, whatever you want to call it, can go on a situation. This is really kind of a car story, but it's really not. And it starts in 2017, like right around August of 2017. This gentleman by the name of Ron Dawzett, I think I'm saying his name right, Ron Dawzett, he was 74, or is, I think he's still alive, 74 years old. He lived in a little township right outside of Ann Arbor, Michigan. So I think the township was called Northfield Township. And it's, out in the country, kind of a rural area. And he basically had lived there for about 15 years. And he had amassed a huge collection of cars. He had 218 cars on his land. And these cars were, a lot of these, let me put it this way, these weren't your garden variety Corollas and Camrys and stuff that you see every day. He had a lot of rare cars, rare BMWs, Mercedes-Benz, MGs, Triumphs, a lot of old European cars and like British cars and stuff like that, and German cars. And he was an ex-Ford engineer. He had worked for a Ford technician, rather. He had worked for Ford for many years. He retired from Ford, and he was a car collector. He loved cars. And right around 2017, now he had lived in the city since 2003. 2017, the city comes to him and says, "You've got to get rid of these cars. These cars have to go." There's an ordinance. Obviously, there's an ordinance for unregistered and unoperable cars. You need to get these cars off the lot or off your land, and you have to do it quick. You need to get, basically the original thing they said is you need to get 20 cars off your land a month. So 20 a month. And so Ron, again, 74 years old, he basically did not have a problem with this. He was a little pissed at the way they were coming at him, but he knew he was getting up there in age. He knew if something happened to him, his wife would not know what to do with the cars. And he even admitted himself that, he kind of let it get out of control. So he was a little bitter, but not too bitter on it. He knew something had to be done. But he basically went to the city, or to the city, and said, "I cannot get rid of this many cars this quick. I'm willing to work with you on this." And I think actually, I take that back. I think originally they wanted him to get rid of all the cars in 3 months or something crazy like that. I apologize. I don't know what the original order was, but they came back and said, okay, 20 a month. Well, he said that's basically in his own words, that's a hell of a lot of cars. And, that is just not going to happen that quick. So the city came back and said, okay, we'll work with you. You can get rid of 15 cars a month. Well, that's a little bit better, but even then he said that was still, it still was a lot to try to get rid of. But he started working on it, and, he basically kind of had a fire sale of a lot of these cars. A lot of the vehicles, and let me say one thing too, these were not junkyard pieces of shit with missing doors and missing windshields and that. These cars were, while they weren't showroom, they weren't perfect looking, most of these cars did run and drive. They just needed a lot of TLC. But they were out in the field and the outside, and he basically, I guess his idea was to fix them up and resell them, but he just obviously just got out of control. And the funny thing about this is the city would never let him know who said something about this, because the way his property was situated, this isn't like a normal neighborhood where you got houses all around you. He did have neighbors, but they were kind of far apart. And he said his cars, you could not see his cars you couldn't see them from the street. You couldn't see them from any of the neighbors' houses. You would literally have to go up into his driveway, which his house was kind of up on a hill, to actually see any of these cars. So, he has no idea who actually complained about this, or maybe the city, did a Google satellite view at one point and saw the cars there, and maybe they're the ones that just did it, to be assholes. Who knows? But the bottom line was it was not affecting anybody. It was not on anybody's property. It wasn't near anybody. It was on his own property. But anyway, so he starts working on that, in 2017. He starts basically selling these cars, and or selling some of them, but a lot of them he can't sell. A lot of perfectly good cars had to go to the scrapyard. And, he said this basically, it sucked that he was getting rid of really good cars that were rare, but just couldn't sell them. Other vehicles, he did keep some of the cars for himself. He did have a property that was across the street that was commercial zoned, but he couldn't obviously fit all of them over there. But he took some of his cars there. He was able to sell some. He went on Facebook and Craigslist and things like that. Some people helped him out try to sell these cars, and he did sell a lot of them. Some of the comments that I saw from people during that time period was that the guy was absolutely ridiculous on his pricing for these cars. That he was not really trying to get rid of these cars. He was asking way too much for them. And he wouldn't work with anybody on some of these vehicles he was trying to sell. Now, whether that's true or not, I have no idea. But that's what a lot of people commented on at the time that were actually interested in some of his vehicles that he was selling. But basically, so that's where it ends right there in 2017. So we pick up it. I looked up the story. There's been nothing recent on this, but the most recent story of this comes into 2019. So basically, August of 2019. 2 years later, basically. At this point he gets rid of 180 cars. So in that time period, he did a pretty good job. Keep in mind, the township every single month would send out a official to his house to count how many cars he actually got rid of. This is ridiculous. I personally think this is ridiculous. The guy, this guy in his mid 70s, he's doing the best he can, and he does get rid of 180 cars. So at that point, he's not, because I guess the deal was he had to get rid of them in 2 years. Okay, so get rid of all the cars in 2 years. So here we are in August of 2019, which is basically 2 years later. I think he still had about 20 or 30 cars left on his land. And basically, the city more or less told him he had 8 days to clear these cars out. Again, this guy did a damn good job of getting rid of all these cars. And, at this point, the end of the story picks up that, he's trying to do the best he can to get rid of these cars. They're threatening him. The city is being very, they're not working with this guy at all. They're not taking anything into consideration. A lot of people point out that, look, the guy got rid of well over half the cars. Leave him alone. Can you consider that a win for the city? Didn't the city win when they got rid of 180 cars? And then, some people called out to the city and said, look, why don't you give this guy a break? Or some news channels actually called out to the city. And the city basically cold-heartedly said, he made a deal, and this is when he said he was going to get rid of the cars, and we're holding him to that. And, if you look at photos, you'll see that there was a lot of cars on his land. There was definitely a lot of cars there, but, he got rid of a lot of these cars and did, in such a time frame, and he did, I think he did what he was supposed to do. So I told you there was no dramatic ending to this story, and it was a quick story. From that point on, I had not seen any more stories. Obviously the pandemic happened, right after, so I'm sure that kind of stops, some things going on. I'm assuming he probably got rid of the cars because, he only had like 20 or 30 left to go. So I'm sure in that time frame he did get rid of them, and there's never been anything on this story since 2019. The reason I thought this story was
Dan, I think we lost you.
It brings up a great debate, just like every city, to keep property values from going down, to keep things safe, any kind of attractive nuisances, anything like that. They have those ordinances for a reason. But the question is, how far and how and this is why I want to bring this up for a debate, just to kind of between you two guys and see what you think. I'm not a property owner. I know, Buddha, you would fall the closest to this. John, you own your place, but you're in like a townhouse, condos type place. Yep. Where you have the association overlooking shit. But Buddha, you own your own house. You live in a neighborhood. What's your opinion? There's two opinions on this, and I'll ask you guys. But the two arguments on both sides of this were, A, the city is right to do what they're doing because these cars are an environmental hazard. They're leaking all kind of shit into the ground. They're eyesores. He should never have let it get out of control like this, and shame on him. The city has absolutely every right to basically, jump down his throat to get this taken care of, even though it wasn't bothering anybody or he wasn't near anybody. And then the other side of the argument is, fuck the city. The city, he's not bothering anybody. He's on his own land. He's not near anyone. He's not hurting anyone. Yeah, he did let it get out of control, but He's an elderly gentleman. He did the best he could. Leave him the hell alone. You know, the question is, how far does city politics and how far does this shit get out of control? Where, excuse me, where they are asking, you know, controlling the thing that much. You know, controlling the story. I can't think of the word I'm trying to say, but what do you guys think? What's your opinion on this? This is, you know, a good debate.
I mean, I think Buddha and I will have the same stance. Government shouldn't tell you what you can and can't do on your own property.
Yeah,
I
the
agree.
city can get fucked.
I agree with you, John.
Yeah.
Huh?
I said the city can get fucked.
I didn't hear you.
I mean,
Yeah.
the city can get fucked.
I agree.
The whole I am take a very strong stance that, like John, you know, had just basically said that, like, when you really boil it down to, you know, being a quote unquote property owner, you don't really own your property because it can always be seized for not paying property tax. I mean, not really. They're not really going to seize it. They're probably just going to take out liens against you. But the point is, why the fuck am I taking out a loan, paying an absorbent amount of money for a house, and then I have to pay property tax to sit on a lot in a city, and I don't get anything for them? And before everybody jumps off the fucking rails and goes, oh, well, what about my fucking roads? Or what about the fucking police station or the fire department? I don't give a fuck. Okay, fuck them. This money should not be extorted from a person because everyone else thinks that you should have to pay. So if it truly is my property, the city has no fucking right to cite me for not cutting my fucking grass. Unless those motherfuckers, I'm giving them money, why don't they come fucking cut it? You know what I mean? Like my street is one of the last streets in the city to get plowed, and my fucking property taxes are pretty high. So, and like you guys have seen my house. I don't have an extravagant house by any means. I don't have a lot of land by any means. Like, my street is, you know, when we have those big snowstorms, it gets plowed 9 o'clock. You know, what the fuck am I paying for? You know, the roads are fucking garbage. Like, they are terrible.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I don't see the point in, well, that's a whole nother discussion. But I think that my property tax should not be supporting police. They should not be supporting the fire department. They should not be supporting any type of social, what is the right word I'm looking for? Really, it shouldn't be any kind of social program. And the reason I feel that way is because everything the city gets involved in, they just fuck it up. Everything the government gets involved in, they just fuck it up. Like, you know, and I've brought this up before where, like, okay, so it's okay for the city council or the mayor to make a deal unbeknownst to everyone else, and this happened in my city, to let a out-of-state company come in and set up a methadone clinic on one of the main roads near a fucking elementary school in my city, and that's okay. And then when a bunch of the people go to the council meeting and they speak out and they're like, hey, we don't want this, and then the council like votes against it, so they shut it down, they go, well, you know what, now we're going to be in litigation because that lawyer or the mayor, the previous mayor, already had a deal set up with that company. And guess what? That company won, so they're fucking putting it in. And, like, you know, whether you feel one way or another about any of that shit, like, you can't tell me, oh, well, you know, the city is the whole fucking democratic thing, because clearly there was enough people to come out and then get the council to sway to vote one way, and then they just do whatever they want anyway. You know, and, like, for a whole nother conversation, like, democracy in general is a terrible fucking idea. It's just mob rule. It's all, like, fine and dandy when you're getting the way that you want, but, I mean, that literally means 51% of people will make decisions for 49% of people. Like, that is a terrible system. So to have all that money extorted and for the city to do whatever the fuck they want anyway, and then still be taking money from you, and then they're going to come to you and tell you what you're allowed to do on your fucking property after you're paying them money and they're not even upholding what the fuck they're supposed to be doing in the first place. Sorry, that was very long-winded, but I feel very strongly about this.
That's, I agree with you. And this story fired me up because this man, granted, he might have let it get out of control. That's true. I'm not going to say that. But you know what? He lived in the city for 15 years. It's not like he just moved in and just brought a bunch of fucking cars. He's lived in the city for 15 years. These cars, again, it's not like they were on other people's property. They weren't even near other neighbors. And it fired me up because, for a city to come in and to just pressure and bully this guy. Not just, they really weren't even working with him. It was just like, this is what it is. And one of the persons even said, I think one of the officials said, age is not an excuse. I love cars too, the person said, but age is not an excuse. And to treat somebody like that and and like I said, even after the fact that he got rid of all those cars, 180 cars in 2 years, and they were still, instead of just saying like someone pointed out, it's a win. He got rid of enough of those vehicles. We're just going to let the guy let it go. That's not that many cars left over. But no, they still bullied him right till the very end. I'm assuming, like I said, I don't know where the story ended up because I'm assuming he finally did get rid of the other cars. I'm sure the pandemic kind of slowed things up, but never heard anything else about it. But yeah, I agree with you completely, Buddha and John, that, this is ridiculous that this guy got treated like this. And, it was a hobby. I don't give a damn. Yeah, maybe it was excessive, but it was a hobby and it was not hurting anyone. It was on his own property. It wasn't like spilling over into somebody else's property or anything crazy like that. It wasn't, and like the guy said himself, Ron said himself, I have no idea how anybody even saw these cars. Unless you walk up my driveway for a while, you're not going to see the cars. So I tend to think that probably wasn't even a neighbor. It was probably a city official that happened to just at one point walk back there or look at satellite, imagery, look at the, Google satellite and said, here we go. We got something we can, bully this guy on. And it's just ridiculous, totally ridiculous. And who knows who was paying. Maybe a neighbor did, get pissed about it and was trying to line some officials' pockets to tell them to get rid of all these cars. Who knows?
Dude, that's like the same shit when people get involved with an HOA. It's like you get one nosy motherfucker that's worried about shit that isn't even his property, and he doesn't like to fucking look at it. So then he calls the HOA, which is literally just a mini government. They can also get fucked. Like, it's like, dude, have you tried talking to the guy on your own? Like, have you gone over and done like the personable thing and maybe discuss it with him? And if he tells you to get fucked, well, then it's his property, so you can get fucked. As long as he's not hurting anybody, or hurting anything, then it's not an issue. You know, if you don't like it, fucking put up a fence.
Right. Yeah. And like I said, I've looked at the photos.
Man, I don't know what's going on, but we keep cutting out. Dan, you still there? Can you hear me? Dan? All right. Good evening, Buddha. You still there? I don't know. Maybe it's me.
Can you hear? Hello?
Yeah, there. I popped out
and
popped back in. Yeah. I'm here.
Ah, that's weird. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So did you hear? I don't know if you heard the last thing I said, but yeah. That's the gist of the story. So, I thought it was a good debate. I know it's a quick story. Again, there was no dramatic endings, but I figured it would be just something interesting to talk about. Hopefully the guy, and even he said himself, he wasn't fighting the government, the city either. That's the thing too that kind of pisses me off. He agreed with them. He said, okay, I'll work with you on it. And they still bullied the shit out of him. That's what, that's the part of the story that pisses you off.
Yeah, it's just, to have your collection basically forced away from you, it's kind of shitty.
It is. It's very shitty.
No. And where was this again? I'm sorry.
It was right out of a little township outside of Ann Arbor, Michigan, called Northfield. It's called Northfield Township.
And what was his last name again?
I'm going to spell it. It's hold up. I just had it here. It's first name's Ron, and his last name is, damn it, it's D-A-U. His last name's not damn it.
Yeah.
D-A-U-Z like zebra E-T.
Ron De Zebra.
Yeah. I think it's Duzette.
I wonder if
That's
he
what
had a
it looks
DeLorean
like.
in there.
That would have been, oh man.
Man, I mean, some of these are pretty roached over, but shit, like,
None of them really look terrible, though.
no.
That's the point, right? These weren't boneyard cars. This wasn't a junkyard. These cars had, some of them, like you said, looked a little rusty and shit, but most of them just needed a little TLC. That was the other argument, was that these weren't junkyard cars. These were actual, decent cars that might have needed a little bit here and there, but, that was his argument to them too. But yeah, now obviously I'm quite sure the property is completely empty.
I see a Fiero in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that.
I wonder if there was like a list. But there was also a car auction here. I think it was in Toledo not too long ago, where this guy was selling off a shit ton of cars, and he had a D in there. Yeah, I think he sold it went for 23 grand. Dude, I've been looking lately. Dude, I can't find one under 40,000. 40.
You know it was trashed.
What's that?
Then you know it was fucking trashed.
What do you mean? Oh,
the
the
one
car?
that, the one that you saw.
Yeah.
No, it sold in auction. Dude, it was covered in dust, but it looked good. I mean, I would not have driven it home. I probably would have trailered it, and then the first thing you got to do on those is replace the fuel lines, because otherwise they'll spray in the engine compartment and the whole engine compartment will catch on fire. I mean, a lot of those are, 40 plus years old at this point. So
how else are you going to go back in time?
Right. But yeah, it's getting kind of sad and depressing, because like a lot of these are going for, it's just crazy how much they're going for now. And, I was looking at prices that, because you can see and track history on the sale of cars. Around when we graduated high school, they were going for like $5 to $7 grand. And it's just like, it kills me inside. It's like, I should have just fucking bought one.
Yeah.
But I mean,
dude, there's a bird's eye view of his land, and literally his entire car lot is surrounded by trees, and there's no neighbor anywhere near it.
Right. That's what I saw that photo. Yep. That's what he said. He's like, people would have had to walk up my driveway and actually onto my property to see these cars. So it makes you wonder if actually, again, did a neighbor really bitch about it, or did the city just see it and just want to be assholes? Everyone's got access to satellite, Google satellite, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fucked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Buddha, it's time.
I'm actually,
you gonna pass
for
tonight?
for sake of not turning this into a schmishmortion, I was gonna try to wing this one, but it's not happening. Yeah, yes, the penny whistle.
Yep, there you go. Well, in that case, Buddha.
That's fair. That's fair.
You let us down, Buddha.
Yeah, he looks fucking
Sorry,
stupid.
I had that banger last time.
Yeah.
That like hour-long story.
Yeah.
I think that makes up for it.
Yeah, it does. It does. That was an awesome story. Yep.
Yeah. Well, it's almost 9:30, so all right. Well, we'll do Battle of the Bands here. All right. Let's see. Do I have a coin on me? Who wants to go first? Buddha and Dan have both been working on music independently, and we'll play their songs here tonight. And so, do you want me to play the background? Do you want me to play the whole thing, or how do we want to go about this?
It doesn't matter.
Well,
Whatever.
my song is 3:47, so it's not that long of a song. It's up to you. Totally up to you.
All right, I'm gonna
I don't
try
know how
and
long
do
Buddha's is.
Buddha's thing first. Let's
It's
see
like
here.
3 minutes.
Okay, so they're about the same.
Okay, yeah, I can.
Are you wanting any like?
I can control the volume on Buddha's, and I can control the volume on yours, Dan. So, yeah, you guys tell me. They're both queued up. I have not played or listened to any of them. I've just gotten volume checks. So,
Play them at the same time.
Yeah. Are you wanting a background on them or no? The story?
yeah, sure, go ahead. Here's sorry. I was trying to play them both at the same time. Of course, it didn't work.
Well, since you actually just played mine, and it's definitely better to save the best for last. We'll leave Buddha's definitely at last, and I'll get mine out of the way here. Anyway, so I don't know if you really want to hear just a couple minutes of what basically this song is kind of interesting because, and I will bring this up just to kind of talk about it because this show was sort of an inspiration for it. So I have never aspired to write about aliens or UFOs or anything like that. Never once. It wasn't on my bucket list to sing about. But, last year I said, I want to write like a fun song. Something fun, something just stupid and goofy. But I didn't know what to write about. I had actual music done, long before I had that concept done, long before. And I didn't know what to write about. So it was right around the end of 2020 and of course 2021, there was a renewed interest in UFOs and aliens and that with the government releasing that so-called, which really wasn't anything but their files and stupid shit that they released. And, there's always been that interest and it got kind of renewed more so. And that kind of helped me a little bit. But the other thing that helped me too was the fact that you guys, between the stories that you and Buddha have brought to this podcast, definitely was an inspiration for me to write this song because I've never looked up UFO stuff. I've never searched on it. I never gave a shit less about it, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
But you guys, huh?
No, I'm just listening.
Oh, yeah. So you guys have. I mean, you guys have brought plenty of crazy stories on here with about UFOs and that. So yeah, that's kind of the idea of the song. And where I got the idea from is, it's part of this show has actually a little bit of an inspiration to it, the stories that you guys brought. So
all right, so go ahead and what's the title?
Oh, it's the UFO Shuffle
by Illusionary Apollo.
By Illusionary Apollo.
Yeah.
About to tell you a story that happened to me a few weeks ago on a Friday. You may not believe it, and that's okay, but it truly did happen to me. It was 2 a.m. I was heading home from a job working a night shift. I was feeling stressed and super depressed when I saw this thing zoom past me. It looked like a giant lighted pretzel and it glided through the air like a hot knife through butter. Then it landed in a big field above it with the force that fell like a jet. So I pull up to it and my phone and my car died. Start feeling kinda queasy. The door of the thing opens up and I see 2 aliens staring at me. The one's drinking a beer, the other's eating a Big Mac, saying how do humans consume this crap. They stare me down, I am stunned inside, and that's when they did the UFO shuffle, did the UFO shuffle. They did the UFO shuffle, did the UFO shuffle. Now I'm in a spacecraft and we're traveling what seems like crazy warp speed. As we leave the Earth's atmosphere, I think I'm losing some of my fear. We passed Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk. Aliens say those dudes have nothing on us. Next thing I know, we're passing the space station without any hesitation. Door 2 opens up, more of them exit doing a new TikTok dance. I then realized that these creatures are really not much different than us. The leader offers me a Cuban cigar, then starts rapping to Eminem. Things are getting weird, they all line up, then they do what is now known as a UFO shuffle. Did the UFO shuffle. They did the UFO shuffle, did the UFO shuffle. shuffle. They did the UFO shuffle. They did the UFO shuffle. Circle back through the Milky Way. Then they take me back down to Earth. I get out, they say goodbye, and their craft is gone in a flash. I pass out, then I wake up thinking this was nothing more than a crazy dream. Didn't give much thought about it till I see the car racing up my driveway. Two guys in suits get out and they say, forget everything that you saw last night. And that's my story, and now you know it, and how I learned of a crazy thing that's called the UFO shuffle.
Dan, I have to tell you, you have grown as a songwriter quite a bit.
For sure.
No, and even
Absolutely.
like I was like surprised, and you did all of that on your own by yourself.
Yes, every single thing that you hear there is all me. I appreciate that, guys.
No, it's even it's like I will probably be humming that all day tomorrow. So, but no, it's even like the bridge with the keyboard part. I was like, there's a melody there. Like I know where you've started and where you've been going, and like I'm pleasantly surprised.
You've definitely come a long way since Zombie Woman.
Yeah.
Oh God, yeah, I appreciate that. No, I worked hard on this song, and I'll tell you the funny thing was, I mean, if you listen to this, the story there, I mean, the biggest thing of this song, I think I told you guys even on here, I could not for the life of me figure out how to end that song. I had the first two verses done almost instantly, but that last third verse of figuring out how to end, because the song could have went like 50 different ways. You know, it's not a love song where,
Sure.
you know, it can end only a couple different ways. This was a song where I didn't know how the hell to end the song. So
honestly,
you know,
as I was watching the wave go towards the end, I was like, and then you're talking about like how two guys come up and approach you and tell you to forget about it. I thought like in the midst of you like recanting the story, it would just stop, like as if like you forgot everything ever happened.
oh, okay. So basically that's kind of like, yeah. Yeah. So I appreciate it, guys. Thank you for playing it and
All
the
right,
compliments.
so
I definitely
the track drops tomorrow, everybody.
Yes, it does. Yeah.
Buddha, this song here, it's called Crying. Is this the one that I did drums for?
It is.
Oh, right on. And so is there vocals on it now? Is everything pretty much ready?
It's as good as she's gonna get.
All right. Did you master it at all or mix it or?
Yeah, I did, but I'm not super in love with it.
So I'm on the drums, and then your guitar, bass, and vocals.
I played guitar, bass, vocals. Rob, I think, did one guitar track, and I had George do the solo, and then I had Tony do some backups.
George.
Hartwig.
He did the solo.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not sure.
I don't know. You might not have ever met him.
Yeah. All right. So what's the song called?
Crying. Still.
All right.
Still called Crying.
Yeah. All right. Let's see. I have not listened to any of this yet. needs a tad bit more delay.
Needs some delay.
No,
Needs some
dude,
cowbell.
dude, I remember tracking that, and so I was like, oh, I probably could sit down and play it all over again. Dude, I gotta tell you, you kind of sounded like I was gonna say like somewhere in between. What's the name of that fucking record? Art of Drowning and Sing the Sorrow, Davey Havoc.
Oh, is that a good thing?
No, I liked it. It sounded it sounded a little AFI-ish.
As long as it's old AFI, I'll take that.
What's up, Dan?
Yeah. I'm going to say, yeah, Buddha, great job on that, man. I am impressed with your vocal ability to raise it. I can never even begin to think about raising my voice to that level. That's definitely impressive. I actually think there's it's not quite to this guy, but I feel a hint of vintage Bad Religion.
A little bit, yeah, that too. I know you like Bad Religion too.
Yeah, I'm definitely.
I love
a big
Bad Religion
fan.
Yeah,
you are or you aren't.
I am. I do like Bad Religion a lot.
yeah.
Yep. Yeah, Stranger Than Fiction was my very first CD I ever bought.
Oh, that album's so good.
Yeah.
Yep. Very first CD. But no, yeah, I like that, but you guys did a great job. The drums, Rob on guitar, and yeah, it's just a good song. It's got an 80s vibe, but it has like an 80s vibe, but it sounds
kind of sounds cultish too, a little bit like cultish.
Little bit, yeah, a little bit.
The guitar tone's definitely a little bit sounding like the Cult. I don't know. But all right, well, I think we'll close out with that for this week. Let's see here. Buddha, hang around afterwards. Dan and I were going over some
penile implants.
Yes. So comparing sizes. So
Yes, absolutely.
yeah, of course, Dan won again. So. All right, so tune in next week. I think we'll all be here. Is everybody good for next week?
Yes.
I believe
All
so.
right. Yeah, we're going to do a couple more weeks, and then we're going to pause for the summer and come up with some new ideas and new content. I know we're all a little gassed from going hard for the last couple months, and we've had some on and off times, but be a good point to just recharge over the summer. So try to figure out how to get the algorithm to like us again. So. All right. Well, if you guys don't have anything, I'll check this one out. Tune in next week, 8 p.m., hopefully sharp. For Dan Rady, Steve Gibson, and all in the T3TV universe, especially Larry Simpson. This is John Basinski from Mistake of the Lake, deep within the great American West. Say goodnight, people.